Time now for the Friend Zone, where we invite one of our friends from within the building here at Fox onto the show. And tonight, we are honored to be joined by Martha MacCallum, host of Fox's brand new 7 p.m. program, The First 100 Days. Martha, it is great to see you.
Hi there, Tucker. Great to see you. Congratulations.
Well, congratulations to you. For at least 100 days, you're going to be at 7. What are you going to do?
Well, you know what? We're going to talk about really this historic period that is about to happen and this incredible election that we all watched unfold over the course of 18 months. And we're going to dig into sort of the question of truth and accountability. You know, what does the Donald Trump presidency in the first 100 days actually look like? He's made a lot of promises. He's promised to cut taxes, to do corporate tax reform, regulations, all these things that are supposed to roll out on day one. We're going to really be holding him accountable. And then we're going to ask people in America, you know, what do you think? You know, how do you think this is measuring up to the expectations that you had? Because expectations are huge from the people who love him, and the people who don't love him are waiting for him to fail. So we're going to, you know, sort of take the measure of the man over the course of those 100 days.
Do you have a sense of what people are looking at? Well, I mean, there are so many different issues that people care about, but do you have a sense of what the big ones are in this incoming administration?
When you think back, Tucker, to what people said during the course of the election, right? Over and over and over, people said to all of us, you know, I just want somebody who's going to shake things up. I'm so tired of the stagnation that I see in Washington, and I want somebody who's going to go in there and do things differently. And, you know, so far, what we've seen in the president-elect period is extraordinary in terms of action and in terms of sentiment that rolls over just at the beginning of a tweet. So, you know, that kind of thing is what people expect from him, and he's going to have to continue to hold that bar high for them. And he's I keep thinking about Ed Koch in New York, how he used to walk around and go, how am I doing, you know? So, I mean, we're going to try to sort of answer that question, the Ed Koch question, and we're going to talk to focus groups and people out there about what they think in terms of how it's going, because it's going to be, you know, he's put the bar pretty high for himself, and we're going to see if he measures up to it.
If they hire Trump to shake things up, they will not be disappointed.
No, no.
So you host a 2-hour show every single day. I go on every week, and I'm honored to do that. Then you're on election night. Where did you get that work ethic?
That's a good question. You know, I mean, I think I've always worked hard, you know, maybe not in high school. Okay, I admit that. But like after high school, and, you know, I worked as a waitress in New York City. I think working as a waitress, I always tell this to people, and I always tell this to kids, it's one of the hardest jobs you'll ever have. You've got to balance a lot of stuff, and you've got to make sure that you're keeping people happy all the time as you're going around from table to table. And I think it was really good training for me as a young person to have to, you know, make my way in New York City and pay my rent and take care of stuff and, you know, make sure that I showed up on time. And, you know, it's important to me. I think it's always been important to me to have people feel that I was doing, you know, what they hired me to do. And it started, you know, I guess way back then. I don't know. I've been working in jobs since I was, you know, 15 years old. So
what
like
restaurant?
Working.
And was it a good restaurant? And how
no,
was it?
Terrible restaurant. One restaurant was a seafood place over on 2nd Avenue, which was closed for health violations several times. There were things living in the closet that, like, you know, the drunk woman at the bar used to think was a cat, but it was actually something else that was sort of like furry and ran around in the closet. There was also the Mexican restaurant, which I did get fired from one place, which was a Mexican restaurant up on the west side at one point. And I worked at a pasta place, which I actually was a manager of. I had a really executive position there for a little while.
Why did you get fired?
I got fired because the manager didn't want us to hand out Halloween candy on Halloween, and I was like, come on, that's ridiculous. You know, I think he felt that I was sort of like stepping on his toes because I was like, come on, this is so stupid. We're just going to hand out Halloween candy to the kids. And it sort of, you know, one thing led to another and it sort of snowballed. But it was the only job I was ever fired from, so that was probably a good experience in and of itself, too.
I thought you were going to say for being drunk at work, but it was for handing out candy?
No, that was after work.
That's unbelievable. What was your first TV job?
My first TV job was doing business minutes for the Wall Street Journal, and it was called TV Tokyo. And, you know, I was a producer because I started as a segment producer, line producer, field producer, and I was perfectly happy doing that on the other side of the camera. And a great guy who I worked for said, you know what, we just want to try this out. You know, let's see what happens if we put it in front of the camera. And, you know, it was pretty fun. So I did business minutes for them for a little while, and one thing led to another. And next thing I knew, I was working as a reporter for the Wall Street Journal Report on weekends. And then I was at CNBC, and, you know, the rest is history, as they say.
But it all began at a rat-infested restaurant on 2nd Avenue.
I mean, what other kind is there in New York City, really? I mean, you know, really.
I love it. Martha MacCallum, thank you for doing this. We will see you at 7 p.m. every night for at least 100 days starting next week.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, pal.
I can't wait.
Good to see you.
Thanks, Martha.
You bet.
See ya.